welcome to a special edition of the official Lost podcast. Today we join writers Javier Grillo-Marxuach and Leonard Dick for their full episode commentary on Collision, which aired Wednesday, November 23rd. This podcast can be enjoyed synced up with the episode or as a standalone treat. Either way, enjoy.
All right, hi, I'm Javier Grillo-Marxuach, writer and supervising producer of Lost, and I'm here with
Leonard Dick, also a writer and supervising producer on Lost.
And this is sort of a special podcast because you're actually going to watch the episode Collision along with us, and we're going to comment on things that are going on and perhaps let it all deteriorate into complete anarchy. But before we do that, happy Thanksgiving.
Or as we in my native Canada call it, Thursday.
And because you're watching the episode along with us, we're actually going to start at the time the episode starts. So I'm going to ask you to push pause and start the podcast when the episode begins. So let's pause the podcast right now and begin when the episode starts. Shall we go? Okay. We're just waiting for it to begin because it hasn't started yet. So this is all going to be edited out, right? Yes. Yep. Okay, good. Because I just picked my nose, and it's just gross. It's horrible. So previously on Lost, Jack meets Ana Lucia at a bar in a seedy airport in Sydney. And, we're just watching a couple of scenes from a previous episode. It's very exciting. I did not write this episode, nor did Leonard, so we really don't have a whole lot to say about it, do we, Leonard?
Other than it's nice to see someone from introducing Season 1 back in Season 2.
That's true. Yeah, it's kind of a thing we did with Ana Lucia was, we kind of wanted to shock and stun the audience by having a character from one of the flashbacks appear on the island in the middle of Season 2. So that was a decision that was made pretty early in Season 1 to bring her into the show and to to make her a series regular. Oh, Shannon's been shot. Oh, that's bad. And sorry about that. It's just shocking, even watching it now, isn't it, Leonard?
Yeah, too many people were invested in her, and to see her die was actually quite hard to watch.
Yeah, well, and it's also sort of hard to part with Maggie Grace, who's a fantastic actor, and we love having her in the show and all that. So it was a creative decision that was rather difficult to do. And so the Previously On has just ended, and we have Ana Lucia shooting. Leonard, this was one of yours.
Yeah, we thought it'd be interesting to have Ana Lucia do exactly what we've seen her do on the island, and that'd be a very cool, striking visual to start.
Also, her grouping of shots is really quite impressive. And I don't know, did she actually do her own shooting on this thing?
I don't believe so.
We Oh, wow.
But
okay.
she is good.
Well, you just shattered my universe.
This is Rick Overton, who is playing the psychiatrist, which I thought was a good casting find. Rick, we wanted somebody who was tough enough to hang in there with Ana Lucia, a psychiatrist that she wouldn't be able to push over. And Rick, who I've worked before, I thought was a really good piece of casting.
When did you work on him before?
A show called My Guide to Becoming a Rock Star on the WB. I think it lasted either 5 or 5.5 episodes.
Dude, don't say the WB on the podcast, man. You got to say like on another network or something like that.
Oh, that's right. Another network that shall not be named.
But its initials are the WB. He's a really fine stand-up comedian also, and it's really fun to see him doing a dramatic role because I just remember seeing his stand-up comic like at the Improv, like Night at the Improv and stuff like that, and I really found him very funny, but he's not really doing the comedy here, is he?
No, he's playing it straight, and you do believe that at least I believe that Ana Lucia would actually talk to this guy plain and straight.
Well, that's one of the things I really like about him as an actor, and in this scene specifically, and I really liked about him as a comic is that he has he's got a very welcoming persona, and I think that really helped him out in comedy in terms of some of his edgier material. So it's a very I thought it was a good casting choice.
And it's also, I thought, cool to have Ana Lucia have someone where she's forced to open up because she's been playing it closed. We know that we sense that there's something beneath the surface here, and finally we're getting a little glance at what is beneath that surface.
Absolutely, and I think she's a character who has kind of been a villain since the beginning of the season. And I think this is, in addition to what happened in our previous episode, which was the other 48 days, which was all about what she went through in the island, this is sort of our way to kind of give the audience a little bit more of a handle into her.
And in case you can't read that a city of Los Angeles, she is not a Mountie, as has been suspected.
Well, Leonard, you tend to Canada up everything you do, so we were really worried that might be the outcome of that.
I'm on the payroll for the Minister of Tourism.
This scene is actually the bone of a lot of contention because, Saeed is going to go to town, and here goes the big fight. And one of the things that's sort of an untold fact about Lost is that there's a big Leonard is certainly a big fan of Saeed, and Carlton is a big fan of Mr. Echoes. So there was a lot of discussion about who would actually win this fight.
But it was actually, what's cool about it is that it's a way to reactivate Saeed, to remind the audience, to remind you, everybody, that Saeed was a tough soldier in the Republican Guard, and that he could definitely hold his own with somebody as formidable as Echo. And it was actually the first time we've seen someone be able to get the upper hand on Echo.
Yeah, and Saeed has been playing the romantic hero for so long now that it's almost like a nice change to see him actually kind of turn on that part of his personality. So, but the fight's over, and actually I didn't really catch who won. Was there actually a victor in the fight? We're done now. Here comes the big loss. It's coming toward us.
By the way, I think the answer, if this were pro wrestling, it would have been the manager came in with a chair.
And beat Saeed over the back of the head.
Which is what Ana Lucia did.
God. Okay. So I think we have a commercial now. We're going to pause this and start it again when the thing begins again. And we're back. Okay, it's really tense. Ana Lucia holding everybody at gunpoint. So the results of the Saeed versus Mr. Echo fight are inconclusive at best.
I believe they're going to be participating in a rematch in Vegas at the at a hotel to be named. There will be a big crowd and a lot of action that weekend.
That's right. Now it's interesting because now we're really seeing sort of Ana Lucia at her just complete, like, this is sort of the cork popping on this character, and it's, she's been through everything she's been through. Now she's actually shot an innocent civilian. She's been attacked. This is it. This character is at the end of her rope.
And it's cool for me because she's irrational. We've been seeing her functioning on a very rational axis, and now all of a sudden she's gone to this extreme, which we have not seen before.
Right. And we sort of configured this episode. It's funny when in TV, there's always like the hostage crisis episode or something like that. And at least in the shows I've worked on, I'm not sure if my guide to becoming a rock star had a hostage crisis or not, but you can tell me if that's the case. But
let me think. No.
So this is sort of our version of the Dog Day Afternoon kind of model of a show.
And it also gives us an opportunity to play the eventual reunion of the two camps to make it messy.
Yes.
To put in some conflict and raise some stakes, as opposed to "Hello, how are you? Nice to see you."
It was very important that these people not get along, and you think with somebody like, oh, here she is in the cop uniform. We should probably say something about this, shouldn't we?
That is a blue uniform.
It is. In fact, she's got a lot of stuff hanging from her belt.
Of the LAPD. Javi pitched red and green. That was nixed.
Yeah, no, Chartreuse was, especially Chartreuse, man. Come on, don't sell me out to the audience. Rachel Tickerton, my friend, she is fantastic. We love her, and she did a great job in this episode. And there's a big twist in the scene right now that's going to happen as you're watching this. So this detective, by the way, is named after Matt Ragianti, our faithful writer's assistant. And we're actually going to do a spin-off called Rags. It's going to be all about this character. We're very excited about it. And we may bring this actor back, or Matt might actually wind up playing him. He's been very hard to negotiate with, so...
So we have the first 5 episodes broken.
Exactly, yeah. It's going to be very exciting. So one of the things I like about this scene, and I guess it hasn't happened yet, but it will, and by the time I'm done teeing it up, you'll know what I'm talking about, is that Ana Lucia actually speaks in Spanish to the captain character, to Cortez. And what's interesting about it is that Michelle Rodriguez is part Puerto Rican, and for me as a native Spanish speaker, to hear her speaking Spanish in the correct accent for the kind of nationality that she's playing is actually really exciting to me. So I remember when we were watching this in dailies, I burst out into uproarious laughter, and it was just because I heard a voice that sounded very familiar to me.
I watched it before the subtitles were in place, and I thought that one had called the other a penguin, so I completely misunderstood.
Well, that's what you get when you trust me to do your translations. So now we the cat's out of the bag. Ana Lucia works for her mother, continuing a long lost tradition of bad parenting.
And one of the things I thought was very cool about this was seeing Ana Lucia have to defer to someone in authority. We have seen Ana Lucia in control, taking charge, but now she is here, the subordinate, and she has no leverage here, which I thought was appealing.
Because it's your mom. I mean, it's like she's not just a captain; she's mom. You
can't Rags is back.
Rags is back. Yeah, keep your eye on that guy.
Previously on Rags.
Previously on Rags. You sold me out, man. I had that bank robber. No, I'm sorry. I'm on a whole other show here. This is sort of a little piece of personal cruelty that mom sort of foists on Ana Lucia.
We also spent 3 hours riffing on what kind of cake it should have been.
Yeah, exactly. No, I remember
strawberry, tangerine.
Well, I was a big proponent of the log, the sort of chocolate-covered log, the ice cream log,
Now, this is interesting. This is what we're seeing, the island technology. Jack has developed a rain capturing system.
Yes.
Before you just would stand out in the rain, stick out your tongue, or go to the springs, but now we have a way to capture rain.
Exactly.
So props to our designer and our set people. I thought this was really cool to see.
And rain is notoriously hard to capture. It puts up quite a squaw, so this is a really good thing they did. So I love this line. Oh, I love that. I love that she says that. It's a sort of a nice little pop for this. Oh, wait a minute. Was that the others? Was it a weapon? Was it a bullet? What is it? It's golf. This is a sports-related discussion. Leonard, I'm turning it over to you.
Everyone, of course, last year seemed to love the golf story, and we wanted to find a way to bring it back in a different way, sort of an organic character way, and we thought that this would be a nice way to reestablish the Jack-Kate relationship. You're going to see why in a couple seconds. But the other thing that was cool was actually watching Maggie swing. Little known fact.
That'd be Evangeline Lilly, dude.
I'm sorry, what did I say?
Maggie.
I still have Maggie on the brain. We miss Maggie.
Yeah,
she was great. But Evie, as I understand it, had not golfed a lot and learned pretty quickly how to swing, and she looked like a pro.
There's actually, it's interesting because
me.
My father-in-law, with whom I'm probably sitting down to Thanksgiving dinner right now as you're hearing this, judges all media by whether or not the golf in it is good. So if you say, did you like Lost in Translation, he'll say, yeah, Bill Murray has a great golf swing. And, so I'm proud to say that at least we have some good golf going on in the show, so he'll be very excited about this, so. And this is a nice scene because and this scene was primarily Leonard's doing, and it's a nice scene because we're seeing a little bit of that spark between. It's been such an intense ride up until this episode that to finally see these characters having a little smiley time, a little bit of relationship stuff, it's kind of fun. It's nice to lighten up a little bit. And I remember in season 1, when the concept of the golf course was introduced, there was some real. Okay, we're back to the dark and intense Lost. But when the concept of the golf course was brought in, there's a lot of contention about whether or not we really want to see our castaways playing golf because it's such a light thing. But it really worked out, and it's something we're happy to bring back. Yep. Saeed tied to the tree, which should be a big boom to our fans who are into that sort of thing.
And Saeed's still in a place where he is mourning the loss of Shannon, whom he loved.
Absolutely, and that's really what's carrying him through the entire episode. It's like one of the things that's a little bit hard to realize with Lost for the casual.
I just got excited. I love when Saeed gets angry.
You were firmly in the Saeed would win that fight camp, weren't you? Like
oh yeah,
Saeed.
I'll be there ringside for the rematch.
Yeah, Leonard has a little man crush on Saeed. It's not a lie. It's well known. We're comfortable with it.
So this moment here is also. I thought I like this moment a lot. It's we're seeing some conflict. We're seeing a little bit of tension between Ana Lucia and Echo, who have been allies up until this point.
Yeah, things can be very fractious on the other side. And oh, you got to press pause now. Come back when the commercial's done. We'll finish this anecdote. I swear.
There's a fissure between them. I just love saying the word fissure. I learned it during my SAT prep, and I'm glad I can use the word.
Okay, we're back, and actually, this is Big Mike, Ana Lucia's partner. You may not hear his name during the episode, but his name is actually Big Mike,
or as we refer to him,
Big Mike. Yeah, we're very excited about that. We sing the song all the time.
We'd like to do a spin-off with him to follow Rags, so it'd be Rags at 8. Big Mike at 9.
Yes, exactly, and Locke and the Monster, the cartoon series, at 10. To throw the audience for a real spin. That's what we do. Michael Cudlitz, who plays Big Mike, is a fantastic actor.
Real pro.
And we just absolutely adored him at audition. There were a lot of great guys who came in, but he's just a guy who, is almost born to be Big Mike,
I'm sorry, born to be whom?
Big Mike. I think we have to do that every time we say the words, that start with B and M, so we're going to be sparing in our use of it. But anyway, no, because if you say it, then you got to sing it, and if you do it, I'll hold you to that.
It's the new drinking game, non-alcoholic, of course.
That's right, non-alcoholic, of course. Thanksgiving drinking game. For the casual viewer of Lost, it's a little bit hard to realize sometimes that the episodes really follow each other day after day. So all the emotions are really fresh. Okay, this scene is just intense, and it's just a lot going on here, and this is sort of to show Ana Lucia's state of mind. This thing goes to so.
And I think this is also interesting. It's a testament to our director, Stephen Williams, and the way this was cut. When you watch these in dailies, they play sort of quiet, and because you watch one camera angle and then you watch another camera angle, but when it's cut together, it plays pretty intense. And so kudos to them.
Whoa, here comes the gun. Okay, she's a cop on the edge. Really? She destroyed a television.
Now, by now, you're probably starting to think there's something about Ana Lucia and guns.
Yeah, you think Ana Lucia is a little twitchy, little trigger fingered there, huh? No, not at all. This was actually our audition scene for the character and for the Big Mike.
Everyone take a drink.
Okay. And it was really interesting because I think Michael, who plays Big Mike, just really sold us on the intensity of the scene in the room.
I will say a private note, which is when I watched this episode at home with my wife, when Ana Lucia pulled the gun, she gasped. She thought she was going to pull the trigger.
It's a pretty shocking moment. I mean, I think we don't know what's happening with Ana Lucia, what kind of an officer-involved shooting she was involved with. Did she kill somebody? What happened with her? So we're getting little bits and pieces of it, and we're trying to figure out what exactly is going on with her. I loved it in the previous episode where she snaps that guy's leg back. It's actually one of my favorite things we've done with her. And Sam Anderson, who plays Bernard, whom I actually cast in an episode of Boomtown a few years ago, a series on another network whose initials are NBC.
I thought this was a great Michael moment.
The Disney folk among us are cringing. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna have to bleep that out." So
I love that Michael, who has been hurting from Walt and has been kicked around every which way to Tuesday, in a moment of defiance, just walks up, gives Saeed the water, does not care what Ana Lucia would do, would challenge him, and in effect calls the first bluff on her.
It has been less than 5 days since, about 5 days, right, since Walt went missing, and it's like, again, the freshness of these emotions, it's like one of the challenges on writing the show and all that is that everything happens so quickly after everything else that it's easy to sometimes forget, it's only been 50 days since the plane crashed.
Right, and actually, this is what you're watching now is actually the first encounter between one of the RAF survivors with one of our original fuselage survivors.
Oh my God, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. And I guess one of the things that we tried to sort of not tap dance, but to really deal with in the season is sort of how is all this information keeps getting transferred without having a bunch of scenes where everybody's going, well, the others came and took Walt and shot us, So it was a little bit of a challenge writing this episode to not have every scene be an information download on everything, Angry Saeed. And Naveen is just money in the bank. He's such a fantastic actor, and he sells the anger and the rage so well. There are a lot of different versions of the scene. There's a crying version of the scene. There was one that was more mournful. There's sort of been a lot. There was a lot of takes that he gave us and a lot of different angles on that scene that we got. Here, it's a beautiful place. I think the last time I saw this in a major motion picture, there were velociraptors running through it. It's Raptor Valley from Jurassic. They weren't they were sort of like orange chicken dinosaurs, but Raptor's the only thing I can remember. Evangeline Lilly, not an unfit young lady, is she? No, she's
quite athletic.
Yes, exactly. And did she actually play her own golf in this? I don't know what
the swings are real, and I believe the ball placement.
There's a PA standing just outside of the frame, throwing the ball.
Why don't we just go? I think it's safer to go with yes. Evangeline hit it 600 yards.
It was amazing
and landed right at the flag.
She did. In fact, that was the only scene we could use where she didn't do a hole in one. It was staggering. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Take after take, and she just kept sinking it.
And Foxy, who's PGA level. Very nobly hooked it for us so that we would have story.
It was hard for him. I mean, he couldn't actually hook it. Okay, here we go. So we're in now what's coming up, I really love this because this is a real contrast between, total just sort of fun on the island relationship stuff and then something is going to happen. I don't want to spoil it.
And Stubborn Jack is great.
Yeah.
He is not going to let her get the upper hand.
No,
he is going to hit
not.
this thing if come hell or high water.
And the nice thing about it is that this is very true to his character. I mean, this is the same Jack who wouldn't let go of Boone, but it's him in a lighter moment, which really works for us as a character moment. So, and now look at Kate's face. Yeah, something's going on, but what is it? Is it a giant lemur? Is it the monster? Is it Lost Zilla? No, it's Echo carrying Sawyer, which is probably just as incongruous a sight for these guys as anything. And I like how Jack's sort of wielding the
Otto Wally is pretty damn strong.
Yes.
I couldn't do that.
Our little nod to Gilgamesh right here in the infamous crossword scene. And the thing is, like, the sight of this guy showing up, holding Sawyer in his shoulders, is probably as incongruous as anything else we could have shown at this point, isn't it? Here we are at the Lost Bachelor pad. Locke was listening to some Esquivel music, but now it's all been... This is the infamous shower scene. I think a lot of fanfic will be written about this scene in the future. A lot of Photoshop manipulations will wind up on the internet.
Because of the shower or because of the crossword?
Oh, I know. It's Jack and Sawyer in the shower. What are you kidding? That's gold to a lot of people.
I didn't even think of that. See, Lost always has all these levels. I never even thought of that.
No, there is a large portion of the audience that wouldn't mind seeing a little Jack and Locke action going on there. So that's, not Jack and Locke. I'm sorry, Jack and Sawyer. So I'm sure some wouldn't mind seeing some Jack and Locke action, but that's just not how we roll here at Lost right now. So who knows? The shows go 7 years. Don't rule anything out, but we'll see. And again, this is the scene was a challenge just technically as a writer because it's another scene where like now we've got Sawyer in it. He can't talk, thank God, because otherwise we'd have like people just telling each other what happened left and right. It's a big challenge for us.
And now we have what is going to be our first encounter between the two, how would you term it, Javi?
Just mystical wise men of the
right.
island, yes.
One from each side.
Yeah.
And I thought this was a nice sort of economy of storytelling. It's just, hello.
It's like, what do they actually have to say to each other? It's like, hello, I'm the mystical wise man of the east side of the island, and I'm the mystical wise man of the west side of the island.
Can I see your club card?
Yes, can I see your How was the company picnic? Fantastic. So, and this is sort of the continuing sort of fragmentation of
I'm
the
sorry,
camp with
Fisher. I just need to say the word Fisher. There's another Fisher in the...
Leonard loves the word Fisher.
I studied hard for my SATs.
No, it's very exciting. I like that Bernard has his jaunty cravat that he's been wearing for the last 10 days. It's, because you can look like a ragged survivor, but that doesn't mean you should lose your sense of style. I think it's very important.
And I think next fall in Paris you're going to see the ripped pant leg.
And the jaunty cravat. Yeah.
That's right.
You know what? But I have to tell you, the last guy to wear a jaunty cravat on the show was Arts. Then we all know what happened to him, so... I think I would take the cravat off very, very in short notice.
I'm sorry. What kind of cravat was that, Javi?
Jaunty.
Jaunty cravat.
It's a jaunty cravat. But in all seriousness, this is really a scene where we're trying to show that Ana Lucia is going to be at the end of her rope. She's already lost Echo, and this is where it becomes a real hostage situation. This is where we really cross the line from being just an uncomfortable thing going on here with the death of Shannon in the very near aftermath to, here are my demands. You want me to let your people go. Here's what it's gonna take. And Jin, sadly, is sort of because I think Jin understands a lot more English than he can speak it, and I think it's something that we've been actually going on for much of the last half of the first season and the second season, is that Jin, though not an English speaker, he's probably been exposed to it in the popular culture in Korea and all that, and he really does get what's going on, because he has to, and it's not just a device. I think that certainly I experienced it with some of my Puerto Rican friends who, there's a lot more reading of cues and things that goes on. So.
It's also interesting how far the Jin-Michael relationship has come since season one. That they even have a shorthand, and all Jin has to do is give Michael a nod. Michael gets it. Michael knows Jin will cover for him.
Well, there's something that happens when men are in a raft alone at sea.
Yes.
But it's not this kind of shorthand thing. It's something else entirely that we can't talk about on primetime.
It's based on what happens in our writer's room.
Oh, dear Lord, Leonard. No, don't tell them.
I mean, Javi says, I'm going to get a water. I say, I give you a nod.
And pause it. Okay, now we're here at the parking structure of the Los Angeles.
And there driving the car is
Big Mike.
Everyone at home, take a drink.
Everyone at home, take a drink. It's the harmonies I like, Leonard. That's really the part. And again, this it's interesting because Michael again sort of playing this role. He just really sells a lot of the uncertainty of like, I'm with a trigger happy partner. This isn't good, Rags, he's back, coming soon to primetime, 9-8 p.m. on Saturdays.
And this will be interesting. This is actually the only scene in the show where Rags and Big Mike are on camera together.
Oh, is that right? You think maybe they're the same person?
Yes.
So they got the guy. They got the guy, and we're trying to figure out who is the guy, what is the guy, what does the scene mean? Because we've kind of been leading you to believe that Ana Lucia shot somebody. So
why would the guy that she shot be sitting there healthy in a interview room?
Exactly. So here comes and actually he was supposed to be quite beaten up by the detectives who interrogated him, and that sort of changed a little bit in the filming and all that. But so here we get the big reveal that Ana Lucia did not shoot a guy, but she was actually shot by a guy, and that's why she's been away. So it's not, hopefully if you've been led along by us, you're actually in a place where this is surprising to you.
Yep.
I'm not surprised, and neither is Leonard, because we wrote this episode together. But if we had not seen it, I promise you we'd be shocked and stunned.
I also loved Rachel's performance here.
She's just fantastic. I mean, I've liked
walking
her,
the line of superior and mother.
Yeah, and I've liked her since she was in Total Recall. She's just a fantastic actress. I think we're really happy to have her, and hope we get some more with Ana Lucia and her mom. And this is a little bit of a quieter moment with Ana Lucia, and I think that at some point eventually, we had a scene in the previous episode where Ana Lucia breaks down and cries for the first time in 40 days, and I think this is again sort of following up on the fact that eventually what you do on the island catches up to you, and there has to be a certain sense of regret, because what happens on the island is a very brutal place, and a lot of horrible things have happened here, and I think this is one of those moments where Ana Lucia's past, with all of its freight train strength, is catching up to her, and it's a very difficult thing.
Yeah, and she does not shoot the gun wantonly.
No. I mean,
heightened circumstances.
It was an accidental shooting. I love that we have the closet war here in the Lost Bachelor pad. It's very exciting.
Softened by the ping pong table in the background.
Exactly, yes, and the and the nice cushy pillows. Again, Mr. Echo and Locke, these two guys, Terry is just a fantastic actor, and I think it's one of the nice things about, we don't need to have them give monologues to each other. These two guys are both very interesting in terms of just what they don't say and how they approach what they do say.
I'm convinced that both these actors could read the back of a cereal box and make it interesting.
I actually went to see Terry O'Quinn in Phone Book, the motion picture, and it was pretty amazing, and he played himself reading the phone book. It's pretty cool. And Adewale is just such a compelling screen presence. I mean, he's so intense and so just, these are two guys who are real sort of heavyweights as actors, and just to see them in scenes together is really a lot of fun.
There was a lot of fighting over who was going to write these scenes.
Yes, there was, and I'm happy to say that Damon won. And it's interesting because the Lost Bachelor pad has kind of become like a set for us, and it's such a weird contrast between we're living on a beach in an island, sometimes off the ruins of a plane, and now all of a sudden we're now. This scene is going to cause a lot of relationship talk, and I'd like to turn it over to the writer Leonard Dick, ladies and gentlemen.
This for us was a question of casting your ballots. Who should end up with whom? Why should this person end up with that person? How is this going to play out? And I actually love the way that this was directed, and that it took place in close quarters. The original idea was to place it on the bunk bed to force everyone into an intimate setting. And you have, Kate touching Sawyer, Jack right there. He can't.
He's touching
get away.
Sawyer too. Everybody's touching Sawyer. Yes. It's like it's weird. Sawyer's just getting touched all over the place in this. It's kind of creepy. I don't like it. But I'm sorry, Leonard. You were saying
not at all. But we discussed the issue of, is Jack going to let Kate? He's a doctor. Is he going to let her dispense the medicine? But Kate takes action. She grabs it, and Jack, as a doctor, his priority is to get this medicine into Sawyer any way he can. And if it requires this, then so be it.
And it's interesting because there's all sorts of subversions going on, of Kate and Jack's relationship in favor of Sawyer's relationship, of Jack's professional pride as a doctor. There's all these things that are going on. It's a very, for me, even though a lot of people who fall into the Kate and Sawyer relationship part of the show are going to like what they're seeing. For me, I don't really fall in either place. I think each relationship could be very interesting, but it's a very uncomfortable scene because to be the third person in a scene where somebody is being so intimate with somebody else, and they're both people who have a very complicated relationship, and it's a tough scene.
Yeah. And I also love Foxy's expressions here.
It's interesting, though, because what's happening, Matthew is a kind of actor who really hustles the beats that he's doing. When he's doing a scene, you can just see the thought process going on in the character. There's really something always alive behind his eyes, and it's a pretty cool thing. So
now this is sort of the Grand Fisher scene. All of Ana Lucia's allies are now betraying her, and she is definitely on her own.
Yeah, she's losing everyone who she had for support. And
no more Jaunty Cravat.
No, Jaunty
no
Cravat is going, man. Yeah, that's right. You know what, Sam, it's interesting because this is a role that could very easily be sort of very complainy role, and I think that Sam really sort of nails it in terms of giving Bernard a kind of dignity and a kind of, he's a guy who is a little bit older and probably not as able to do the kind of action-adventure that a lot of people do on this island, but he really carries off what he's doing with a dignity and a gravity that I think really sells what that character's been through.
He's been money since we first saw him on screen.
Absolutely. But then again, pretty much everybody is fantastic, and I'd like for this to be the moment where I say the same thing about Daniel Day Kim, who I've adored since day one, and who was fantastic in an episode that I wrote last season called House of the Rising Sun, and an episode that Leonard and I wrote together called In Translation. He's just really turned this character into a very likable persona.
And it is amazing because starting out, a lot of the viewers, a lot of the fans genuinely disliked Jin. By design, and now he's become a beloved character.
It's a testament to his ability as an actor,
Absolutely.
To sort of sell the villainy of the character at first and all that, and to now be able to really play him as sympathetic, or Chewie, as we like to call him on occasion, because there's a real Han Solo Chewbacca relationship between Sawyer and oh, pause. Welcome to Podcasting for Dollars. I am Yehemnik, and this is Nahamkin. Sorry, it's lost. Too bad. I'm sorry. So, I cannot get enough of people running through the jungle. It's just so, I saw the trailer for The Fog, and it was Maggie Grace running through like a forest, and I was like, did they just cut that from Lost? Because we got plenty of that. Okay, this is fantastic. Again, sort of Yunjin selling the first. She probably saw Michael, when they were walking to do the scene together.
And it's interesting because in this scene there are like 973,000 different emotions that are playing at once. Michael's returned. He's safe. Oh my God, where is Jin? What's going on? The safe. And both actors are just sell it great.
And she doesn't have a lot of lines or screen time to do this. And that mural has been dissected on the internet. You wouldn't believe. There's theories about the mural. There's diagrams of the mural. It's fantastic. So yeah, and that's the thing with Yunjin is again also a fantastic actor on the show. And just in that brief pop with her, you see just the conflicting emotions that she's feeling about seeing Michael. It's great.
Now, this is a scene that we have nicknamed Alpha Male Palooza. Jack, Locke, Otto Wally.
Yeah, somebody needs to open the hatch and let some of the testosterone out because it's just, it's like, seriously, this would be like if this were like a movie like Network, they'd all be wearing suits, drinking scotch, and hitting each other. Well, yelling pithy monologues at each other, I guess, but not for me to compare myself to Patty Chayefsky in any way whatsoever. Just to say, hey, if this were a movie set in New York about television, they'd be wearing suits, drinking scotch, and yelling. Right? So, and I'd like to see that movie, by the way. And it's interesting because here, one of the things that just, and now Michael's in the hatch, and it's like, how do you write the scene without Michael going, what is this place? And then have a monologue about what the hatch is, because so again, it's sort of part of that tightrope that we have to walk, which is to try to not have everybody explaining everything to everybody all the time, And, I think it's interesting. The guns are going to be a huge thing in this season. I think that there's a lot of argument about how to use the guns, when to use the guns, and so forth. And it's just interesting because we've put this ticking time bomb of an armory in the middle of this very heated situation,
Yep.
So a lot of the season is going to have to do with sort of what do you do when you have a threat on you of all sorts of varieties, and you have the option of being completely armed to face it or not.
And along with that is the evolution of Jack. Jack, who in the early episodes of season 1 was vehemently opposed to the guns, let's hide the case, and now here is Jack helping himself to the armory, because obviously for necessary goal, but just the fact that Jack is grabbing the guns and heading out, I thought was interesting.
This is a great moment, and I love how when she says Ana Lucia, he says Ana Lucia. It's like Jack is just like we are. He is rewinding right back to that
42F,
yeah,
tequila and tonic,
exactly. And that was actually in the stage directions for the show. It's like when I first wrote the scene, it was Jack holds his head in his hands. It's all coming back to him. 42F, tequila and tonic. The hard part's over. And that was, of course, cut because even for a stage direction, it's pretty darn ham-fisted. So I'm glad that if the script is ever published, that will not be there to shame me with my anvilicious prose. So we're handing back the AK-47, which is good. The AK-47 was designed by Mikhail Kalashnikov in the Soviet Union. It's the world's most widely used automatic weapon. Did you know that, Leonard?
No, but what I do know, Javi, is that here we finally have Ana Lucia and Saeed alone, and now we are building to what we hope would be the emotional money.
Yes, a smackdown, as it were, between these two very passionate, very highly charged characters who've been through stuff that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy's dog at this point. It's just horrible.
And one of the things I always liked is that Saeed could easily have said, oh, no, I won't kill you, I won't touch you. But he never says that. And so the threat is always looming.
Lost is a show that's about messiness in a lot of ways. We have characters who don't have emotions that are necessarily clear-cut all the time. They fight with themselves as much as they fight with each other. And I think Saeed genuinely, there's a part of Saeed in all of this that wouldn't mind just, he aimed the gun at Ana Lucia after he'd seen Michael, after he'd seen Jen. He knew that this is not necessarily an other, that they were traveling together, that other people were not. So.
Right. And he is probably the smartest foe she's encountered, probably a lot smarter than the guy with the TV in the alleyway.
Oh, absolutely, yes. I think we should just commit to that right now before Naveen comes and kicks both our asses.
This was a really nice suggestion from Carlton and Damon to refer back to what Saeed did in season 1 and to remind us that Saeed is haunted by what he has done and what he did to Sawyer. It's always in the back of his mind, and it affects how he thinks. And I thought this was a very cool callback.
Well, to coin a phrase, all of our characters have a history of violence. Be it emotional violence or relationship violence or violence that was brought on them, cruelty that was brought upon them by their parents, or actual physical violence. And I think that all of our characters have some great break in their past that's driven them over a certain edge. And they don't they don't have the person on the island that they need to confront in order to settle their issues. So they're sort of forced into conflict with each other, and it's the balance in the show is always, will the person in the front story make the mistakes they made in their flashback, or will they overcome those mistakes? And I think with Saeed, for everything he did in the Gulf War, there's probably a lot of not making those mistakes again for him to do.
And will they wear a jaunty cravat along the way?
Yes, exactly. Yes, because if you're rectifying past mistakes, it's better to do it looking great, preferably with a jaunty cravat.
Always go out in style.
That's right, exactly. Which may not be the most appropriate thing to say since we just killed Shannon, but okay, let's just call that an unfortunate choice of judgmentship. And this is nice because it's sort of a battle of the monologues. Both characters have a lot to download on each other in terms of where they're coming from, and it's interesting because this may be these two characters sort of finally coming to some kind of understanding with each other. And I would have, if I were watching this show, I would want Saeed to be a big man and be forgiving, not a big Mike.
But
Big Mike.
Everyone drink at home.
But a big man and forgive, and he can't, and that's what's interesting to me.
What I love about this scene and Michelle's performance in particular is Ana Lucia is finally coming clean to somebody, and she is coming clean to the person who wants to kill her. And there's something incredibly twisted, and it fits sort of the irrational behavior, which is actually somewhat rational through the course of the episode. But I actually really dug that encounter.
This is Michelle with her game face on. This is not a woman who's drinking for recreation here, and she wasn't drinking because we sang the BM song either. So.
It is not a coincidence that she is in this bar.
So we see the guy who shot her leaving the bar, and this is when you want to establish someone as a major just badass, the best thing that they can do is just empty a clip into a guy. Frankly, there is just no better way than to just, put a bunch of shots in the dome.
Javi initially pitched ice cream parlor, but we thought that wouldn't work. This would probably be a little more foreboding.
And here comes the big revelation of the episode. Dun, 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 da-da. Okay, now
we know.
And this goes back to the previous episode, which was in which they asked her if she had kids. She said no, and there's a lot of other threats that this ties into. So now we know why
she asked
Saeed
earlier. Why she asked if Saeed has kids.
Man, I love it that she empties that clip. Man, that gets me so excited because it's just she was not there as a hidden cry for help.
And as a parent, I empathize with her completely. It made perfect sense to me that she would take this extreme.
As not a parent, I empathize with her completely too, because if somebody did that to me, I would be hard pressed to not frag their rear end. In the trailer for this episode, it's funny because they show you the scene and she comes to him with this makeshift knife and swings it down and it cuts to black and then he's going lost, and you're like. But the first scene in the episode is the first scene in the trailer was she shoots a gun in Saeed's direction. I'm like, she either knifed him or shot him. We can't have it both ways. We got to figure out what we're doing in this trailer here. Hopefully we had you caught and you're here to watch the show.
And now we see just how much she is hurting, how deep her pain goes, how complex she is. She is now giving him the gun.
Yeah. These are two characters who are just tremendously rent in the inside and who the fact that they are capable of functioning at all is interesting to me, and the fact that this island hasn't completely gotten them in touch with their dark side, although in the case of Ana Lucia, you can argue that it absolutely has, is just an interesting thing because they're out of civilization, and these two people could probably do whatever they wanted to each other out here. No one would know, and the fact that they get to this détente. And
that's what it is. It is a détente and it is unresolved, and
it will remain so for a while.
That's right. It will not. This is not a happy ending by any means.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is that people may have messy emotions in the island and so forth, and we capitalize on that. I think you're going to see a lot of tension, not just between Saeed and Ana Lucia, but Ana Lucia is still Shannon's murderer, and I think that's going to have a lot of blowback in upcoming episodes. This is the second time I've seen Shannon dead on camera because we killed her in Hearts and Minds, and the one thing that I commend the makeup department for our show on just the incredible things that they do when we have some of the gore. Oh, pause it. We'll be back. And we're back. And shirtless Sawyer, you can't get enough of that. I get emails from fans saying more shirtless Sawyer. Can it be the hour of Sawyer with no shirt on? And if you're feeling really gentle, can you just have him strip down to his shorts? And we try to accommodate.
And I love Evie's performance here.
She's torn between Jack and Sawyer. I mean, they each, each of them is a half of the perfect man.
When we watched this in the dailies with no music, with nothing,
Oh my God,
we
the
broke
dog.
down.
It's so sad. You cannot.
There is no more tangible reminder
No.
of Michael's loss.
Giacchino, I cannot say enough good things about Michael Giacchino. The music just sends it right over, and this is probably the first time I've seen this episode that I haven't wept like a baby, because it is just so... This reunion, we've been waiting for it for so long. Even we as writers of the show get emotionally involved with what's happening, and we finally see this. And
the music,
Rose, I
everything.
mean, now finally she's finding Bernard, and it is just, it's even for us, again, as writers, it's just still cathartic, because it is just such an emotional moment, And, it's interesting, Jin and Jin sort of being welcomed as a hero, even though the raft failed, it's just a really touching moment where, it's good that our lost family's finally together, And here we go. Literally, the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. It's just such a touching moment. I've been waiting for this. I started working on Lost before the pilot was finished, before they were finished writing the pilot. And Bernard...
And I believe that Scott and Sam are a happily married couple. This is just wonderful.
Well, the interracial thing was never an issue, but it was a nice sort of curveball that we tried to throw the audience, because I think that everybody expected Bernard to be a black man, just because of convention or whatever. And it's kind of nice to just be able to say, here we go, and not make a big fuss about it. It's just there. And those of you who are confused by it, we got you, and it's great, And this, Yunjin, no dialogue, just her face, and she's just so fantastic.
And this is the hero run by Daniel.
Yeah.
I fell in love with Daniel here.
You expect him to be sort of walking away from the wreckage of a jet plane with a cigar, kind of like Chuck Yeager in The Right Stuff,
And think about how far these two have come.
Oh, my God, yeah. And, we wrote in translation together, and the whole, thing of how their marriage fell apart. I feel very bonded to these characters, and to be able to, as a writer, be one of the people who brought this relationship to closure is very fulfilling for me personally as well, because it's like we've really gone all the way with them, from just a marriage that was falling apart to what we just saw on the screen.
This final sequence, I'm absolutely in love with, and it's entirely on the actors' faces, and the expressions sell it all.
And my God, there's a lot to feel here, because everything that's happened to these people and to Ana Lucia, and you can see the sense of shame in Michelle's face, and she just played this very nicely, and just the Saeed's sorrow, and it's a really fan, and also kudos to Stephen Williams. I think the way that this is staged, with that sort of line of the three characters going back into the background of the scene, and the reveal of Ana Lucia here, it's really fantastically well done.
And here we go, 42F, tequila and tonic.
Hard part's over, man. But really, this is the culmination of something we established at the end of last season, and one of the great things about writing for Lost is that we set stuff up very early on. Part of our strategy is that we really make a lot of decisions early in the process, so that we can do the kinds of things like paying them off 10 episodes later. This is these people haven't seen each other for 50 some odd days since a flashback, and I love how Lost comes up. Because I just want to say, like in the writers' room, we'll be pitching an act 5, and we'll be like, Ana Lucia steps out of the woods, Jack sees her, Lost. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, Leonard. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience as they gear up to watch a fantastic episode of Invasion?
No, I think this was a really fun episode to write. It was great for us because we got to reunite the camps in the messiest way possible with huge personal conflict. I thought the other thing I thought was interesting is that people were waiting to find out what is Ana Lucia all about, or what makes, or at least what's the sort of that first level of what makes her tick. And I thought that the story that our group came up with was a very compelling story.
Yeah, I think, and also, any script that turns out well is a credit not just to the writers but also to the writers' room, and we come up with these stories collectively, obviously. So a little bit of a word of thanks to them for all of their support, and to David and Carlton for their vision. And I think before we go, there's one thing that we have to do that we'll just click off after this, but I don't think we can go without singing the Big Mike song one last time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Big Mike. Take a drink. Thank you.
So have a happy Thanksgiving, or as we in Canada call it,
Thursday. Bye-bye.